never walked alone.
Welcome to The Recovering Preacher's Kids, a space for healing, honesty, and leaving a legacy of faith without perfection. We're your hosts, Lisa and Lori, and we're so glad you're here.
In every season you are there.
I know that out of the two of us, you are such a planner. Like
Yes.
you got it planned. My daughter's that way. She's a big planner. She likes to have it all together, have all the facts together, and have the plan. And I get that. I mean, I'm a
But with
planner to
4
to a
children,
point.
you have
Yes,
to. I mean,
you
I
have to
had 4
plan.
children also, so you had to have everything strategically planned out. Yes.
Somewhat of a planner. I can kind of go with the flow, but at the same time, I'm also the type that if I get in my mind that we're leaving, I want to leave by 9:00. I might not share that information with other people, but if we do not leave at 9:00, I'm annoyed. So that is an issue that I'm working through. But this month we've been talking about, getting yourself prepared for Bible study and spending time with God. And last week we kind of talked about what doesn't work for us. And last week, as I was studying the Word and just kind of spending some time with God, it got me thinking about the non-negotiables. And I don't know about you, but do you have non-negotiables in your life about other things? Like I do, just you're not going to talk crazy to me.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Or I don't jokingly say this. You can be mean to my kids, but don't be mean to my grandbabies. That's a non-negotiable.
Yeah.
Cause you gonna be mean to them, you gonna deal with Gigi. I'm coming, I have other non-negotiables, like you'll laugh at stuff like this, not because I think that I'm worthy of this. I don't mean it that way, but I cannot spend the night at a place that my hotel room opens up to the outside. That makes me afraid. And
Okay.
so if I stayed at a place like that, I wouldn't sleep. And so it's not I'm bougie and I'm all that. It's that I'm terrified. So a non-negotiable for me. Now, what makes me think I'm so much safer because my door opens up into a hallway instead of the outside? I don't know. But we've all understood Lori has mental issues in some areas. But that's the non-negotiable for me. Do you have anything that you can think of off the top of your head that would be a non-negotiable for you?
I just really don't have anything coming to mind. I mean, I probably do, and I probably have had some, but taking the hotel as the example after all the traveling we have done on the motorcycle and everything in some of the places we have stayed.
Yeah, that's not a problem for you.
I had to let go. I mean, we jokingly say, when we were on a trip to Newfoundland, and we stayed at the Bates Motel, and that's the highlight of our trip. We laugh about that. And that was one of those. Yeah.
Well, okay. When do you get gas? When your light comes on or at half a tank?
Drives John crazy, but probably when I get down to a fourth of a tank. I mean, the other night I didn't stop and get gas, and we had to go somewhere first and then come back to town, and because we had to meet somebody, and I had 93 miles till I was empty. So I'm calculating in my head how far we had to go and come back to see if we had enough gas. And we did. I had 36 miles left in the tank when we got back to Camden.
I don't fill my car up until it is ... You know what I'm saying? I'm it drives Shane absolutely nuts. Now, see, his non-negotiable is he's going to get gas at a half tank.
That's John, too.
I mean, if you need me, I'm coming. I just got to stop and get gas first.
Stop and get gas.
I'm going to have to get gas, but I'm coming. Well, it's got me thinking about Bible study, spending time with God. And I think that, or my concern is, and I can't speak for you or anybody else, I have found for myself that I have used all of the planning as an excuse. And then the excuse ends up being that I can't. I'm not prepared. I don't have the right this or the right that. I don't have the right plan. And at the end of the day, the truth of the matter is I don't want to. So it's I'm beginning to learn that it has to be a non-negotiable for me. Whether I take my phone into the bathroom with me at work, and while I'm sitting on the potty, I open up the Bible app and I just read one verse. Like, I'm not trying to belittle spending time with God. I don't mean it that way, because it's not that I don't take it serious, but it's like if I am not disciplined in that, I will use every excuse in the book to not do it.
That's a really good point. I mean, because that's where I've struggled this week is I want to do, and I start out the week planning to spend my time, and then something happens and it throws off the week and I don't do it. And I just make an excuse and go on. And, and then next thing you know, it's been 3 days or whatever, and I'm playing catch up. I feel like playing catch up, but
do you think it's because we're so much more focused on the plan than we are the actual aspect? Like, and I put it into terms like, I'm married and I'm not going to go an entire day without talking to Shane. I mean, he probably wishes I would go an entire day and not talk to him, but I'm not going to go an entire day and not talk to him. So why do I think as a believer that I can go day after day not talking to my father? I mean, and for me, somebody that can act out real easy, the last thing I need to do is to go day after day after day and not talk to my dad. Because if I don't talk to my father, I don't talk to my dad, then for me, what I notice is I become more and more and more worldly. And I don't know, is that a struggle for you or?
Yeah, I would have to say so. I mean, because it's just easy that if you just stop and you just get out of I hate to use the word habit. I guess discipline, like you've been using, then I find then I just keep making more excuses and then just go on. I mean, it's like we have so many times talked about John and I walking. We need to start exercising a little bit. And I mean, we've worked hard on our health here since the first of the year, and we're doing really good. And we might walk 2 days and then something happens and we don't get to walk anymore that week, and then all of a sudden, guess what? It's been 2 weeks since we walked. Of course, him working shift work is hard sometimes to do it together, but it's easy. I make mistakes. I mean, excuses there, and then okay, we're going to start again in 2 months, maybe. You know what I'm saying? And I find myself, I do the same thing with spending time and quiet time with God. And some of it is like, I guess I just struggle. I don't know how to do it. But then I listen to, you got to have this, like we've talked about, this one specific spot, and it's got to be quiet, and it's got to be this and that. And, and that's just not my lifestyle. I mean, I don't know if I've ever had a quiet moment in my life with 4 children. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I find sometimes if things are too quiet, I have to fill it with something. And maybe that's my struggle. So I guess I don't know if I answered your question, but yes, if I don't, then I do find that my old habits, my old self creeps up and I start being more like the world.
Well, I think too, part of our issue is we're looking for this perfection. And I started studying Moses a couple of months ago. I randomly throughout my journey with God, I'll go back to Moses. I get that dude, like, I see myself in his life a lot, and so I get Moses and I kind of like go back to that. And I've just been really studying him and reading about him. And I was reading, about at the burning bush, and he's just like, well, I can't do that. And God's like, I'll be with you. And, God never answers Moses. He never builds him up. He never tells him, oh, but you're brave, you're smart, you're this, you're that. God just keeps saying, I'll be with you. And then Moses is like, but I can't do it because of this. And God's like, I'll be with you. And Moses is like, but I can't do it because of this. And God's like, but I'll be with you. And Moses is like, but I can't. And God's like, I'll be with you, but take your brother, And so it's like when we think about it, I think we do the exact same thing, because I think part of Moses's issue with all the I can'ts, it was more of he didn't want to surrender control. And so I'm beginning to wonder if that's more of my problem. Is it's not that I can't read the word or that I can't understand the word or that I don't have the right plan or the right marker or highlighter or whatever my excuse is that day. If I really am 100% honest, I don't want to surrender my life, because when I spend time with God, what is going to happen? There's going to be change. And that means I have to be willing to surrender my life and accept that change. And I think we don't always want that, because there's this part of us that wants to act out. There's this part of us that wants to hit the rock. You know what I'm saying? And so we're like, but if I spend time with God and I listen to him and he tells me to speak to the rock, but my flesh is saying hit the rock, well, that really wasn't what God said. Do you see what I'm saying?
Right.
And
I do.
I'm figuring out for me, the non-negotiable has to be there because I have an issue with surrender.
So you have to
why
have
is it-
like the little check box on the Sunday school envelope. You got to have it on there to say, okay, yes, you have to mark this. I don't want to say mark it off, but in that
it's more of an
way.
accountability thing for me. Because I'm going to just confess a sin right here in front of everybody, that I make the cross and what Jesus did at the cross small. I often lose the wonder and I numb myself to the fact that he gave his life for me. And because of that, I also have become numb to the fact that, I died to myself when I confessed my sin and I told Jesus, I want to follow you the rest of my life. And then I was baptized. I wanted it to be a one and done. I wanted to die to myself that one day and be done. But what I've come to realize all these years later is that I have to die to myself every minute of every day, because in my flesh, I'm not going to handle anything right, any of it right.
Yeah.
And that's where I see Moses. He just kept walking with God and he kept getting it right because he was dying to himself, and then he'd have them days. He'd just have them days, and I think what I see through him is it had to become a non-negotiable for him to drown out all the other voices.
So listening to you, see, my problem is sitting here thinking about Moses is I've put Moses on this pedestal along with every other Bible character. I don't want to call him character, but every Bible person, that are on this pedestal. But then I guess if you really pull them back, I mean, they were all messes.
Look, Moses was a mess. Abraham was a mess. David was a mess. Rahab was a mess. Paul was a mess. I don't focus
on the mess. I just think they're perfect. But I mean, how did they get to the point that, God uses them in scripture? They spent time with him.
So why do you think that, first of all, God uses messes, but why do you think that we're not going to be a mess? And maybe that's part of it. Maybe that's the whole thing, is we have to come to a place and Jesus didn't come to die for people who are perfect. He came and died for people who know that they can't do it on their own. Get to the end of yourself.
How many times did he preach on that, huh?
Right? Just stop. But we're not supposed to stay messes. And sometimes I wonder if I like being the mess, because being the mess is more comfortable.
And maybe some of it too is we've got this idea that in order to do this, and I'm talking about myself, but you got to have all this study stuff. Like you just can't read it and just ponder on it. I don't know. Does that make sense? I struggle with that. Is it enough just to sit there and read 5 verses today and just ponder on it? But then I find myself, I start going down the big rabbit hole and I was like, well, I got to understand this and I got to understand that. And and I'm reading and reading, which there's nothing wrong with that. But then it's almost like it gets tiring, if that makes sense. And that might end up being why I just don't have the energy today for the same amount of time. However, everything doesn't have to be the same every day. And I guess that's my struggle, is I want to make sure I do it perfectly, that I just don't sit and let it soak in and meditate on whatever I'm reading. It's just so I could get through it.
Well, not that I have it all together by any stretch of the means. I think I have a proven track record there. But to give an example of what God has shown me is recently, just like, I think it was this past week or whatever, recently, I didn't have it in me. It was like I didn't have it in me to sit and really read a lot. Have you ever just not even had a prayer? Like, I just was like, God, I just don't even have words. I was having one of those mornings. I didn't have words, and I reading through Moses. And so I open up Exodus, and the verse, I shared it on our social media. Like, the verse I read was, "You are the God who heals me." And all I read was that. And why is it like that was all I needed that day? And I pondered all day long. And for me that day, it was a very God saying, I've got you. I will be with you. I am the God who heals. And maybe that's part of the issue, is we're looking for this big revelation constantly, when it's really just sometimes. I'm not saying every time, but there are days it is just the sentence. And that's okay that it's just the sentence.
That makes total sense. I do have a habit or a tendency to overcomplicate things. Yes, I do. I make it too difficult. I just can't
We
keep
all
things
do.
simple.
We all do.
And
I don't think there's anything at the same time wrong with that. We want to beat ourselves up about that. I guess, too, something I'm learning is when we have to stop with all the negativity and all the I can'ts. We have to stop beating ourselves up because we aren't a Lisa Turkhurst, or we aren't a Priscilla Shire, or we aren't a Jen Wilkin. Like, we have to stop with all the comparison and with all of that. I mean, if we were supposed to be a Jen Wilkin, we would be one. But at the same time, she can't be us either. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, why we've got to stop with that. We've got to stop with the excuses. I think that's what the non-negotiable is we have to stop with the excuses, because I mean, they're endless. I'm at 52 and I still keep coming up with them. I mean, I got 52 years of material, but it's like, at what point do you just stop with it? I get frustrated with myself in this area, and that's why I'm sharing it. I'm just realizing that it's not as hard as what I make it. It's not.
I guess I'm just not talking a whole lot, because I guess today it's you're talking to me. There's a lot in what you've been talking about that I've been struggling with, as far as what I'm telling myself. John's statement to me all the time is, it's all yays, not nays. Stop thinking of the negatives. And that is a habit that I have to change, but because I do seem to focus on that. So yeah, today's topic, I feel like it was for me to really sit and ponder and quit trying to be so perfect, and just take the time, even if it's just a 2-minute verse, to read a verse, ponder on it, and then just talk to him about it, and quit making it so complicated.
If you were sitting down with one of your children and they were struggling in an area of their life, what would you tell them? Be patient. Give yourself grace.
It'll work out.
It's going to work out. God's with you. He's got a plan for you. It's his blueprint for your life. It's just a journey. What are all the mom things that we say? Think about it. Why wouldn't our Heavenly Father be saying the same thing to us? And why don't we just receive it instead of...
That's a very good question. Why, Lori? Why do we not receive it? Please tell me my answer.
Because that's where we allow the enemy to say, you're not worth it. You're not worth it. You're not, who are you? Like Moses said at the burning bush to God, he said, who am I? Who am I that I would go to Pharaoh? Who am I? And that's what we want to say, because it's easier to do. It's easier to believe the negative. It's easier to believe we're not worth it. But we were worth it enough for him to die on the cross for us. But our pastor says all the time that so many times we get saved and then get over it.
Mm.
And that's an issue I have. And that is something I'm having to confess continually right now, is because I think I've gotten over it. And that's why it's easy for me not to be in the Word. And I'm disciplined in other areas of my life. I mean, I get up and go to work every day. So I can't sit here and say I'm not a disciplined person. And
Yeah.
and I'm disciplined in other areas of my life. So I can't say that that's not something I can do. It's something I don't want to do.
And I guess if we really think about it, I mean, we know how to do our job because we spent 13 years in in school to learn to read, write, add, subtract, do your basic life skills, and then if you went on into another profession, you spent more time in school. So we spend so much time learning about a profession you want to go into in your job, but we don't do the same thing. We haven't done that same thing over in the spiritual. And I guess that's what I'm seeing. Not that we need to have another Bible class. I'm not saying that, but that is something that, I think we lack sometimes in our churches, maybe is a way to teach, I guess, and for us to learn how to do that. But goes back to, we have to be diligent. We have to be diligent to go to a small group or to church and then take that and dig into it and absorb it instead of being a consumer. Yeah, that word just hit me. Instead of going to church to be a consumer, we need to take it and let it sink in and change us.
All right, y'all, that's a wrap for today's episode. If something in this conversation encouraged you, challenged you, or just made you feel seen, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss what's coming next. And if you know someone who would love this episode, share it with them. Send it to a friend, drop it in a group chat, or post it on your story. That kind of support means the world to us. You always find every episode, updates, and more over at therecoveringpreacherskids.com. Thanks for hanging out with us today. We'll see you next time.